A budget tip is about how to estimate your groceries when you're first starting budgeting. It's a common thing when I'm working with clients to see that they don't know how much they're spending on food. If you think you know how much you're spending on food and you're not running a monthly budget, you're not tracking things, you're not actually keeping an eye on the finances, well, you probably have to take what you think you're spending on food and double it. It's a lot. So when you're starting, you could say, well, I'll just double my best guess, but that's not always good enough when it comes to getting close on a realistic and achievable budget for your groceries. So what's the best way to start? I would say you want to pick somewhere between $200 and $300 per adult person. If you have children and they're younger, well, very young children, you don't need to budget near that much for them. But once they hit those teen growth spurts, you might need to put more in there for them than you do for yourself. But that's a great place to start. If you are not practiced with budgeting, you need to give yourself a little bit more room in the grocery budget so you can give yourself a little bit more grace and a little bit more forgiveness. You don't have to spend up to it, but be on the higher end when you start, estimating around $300 a person or so, especially if you're in a very high living expense area. You might end up being a little higher than $300 a person. And as you practice your budget, you can work it down closer to $200 per person. I think $200 per person, at least in the area where I live, is reasonable. That's a decent place to be for your food budget. If you're getting out of debt, I know there are ways that you can squeeze it down lower than that. And if you make plenty of money, don't feel bad putting a little bit more than $200 per month, per person, per groceries. Back to knowing that you can get it down, back when I lived in Omaha and I was an intern and I made almost no money, I was able to live on, I think it was around $21, $22 a week on groceries. That's what I spent at the grocery store to feed myself for a summer. So less than $100 for myself. Now, that was a little while ago, and I know things have gone up, but imagine if you could get the cost down in a really tight situation when you really need to be dedicating money toward an emergency or your saving or your debt. Well, it's possible. It just takes a lot of discipline, intentionality, and frugality. I sincerely hope that budget tip helps some of you out there.